What do you think of that? He's going to know the naughty and nice. It's a moral message, isn't it? I was listening because to me it's incumbent to love this period of time. So I was listening to my favorite, Have a Holly Jolly Christmas. Say hello to all you know and everyone you meet. That's right, and everyone you meet. Can you have a nicer message? I say hello to everyone I meet. I wish I could have a very tiny camera on my forehead to just record people's reactions. It could be arranged. It will be arranged. That's right, exactly. It's going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a dramatic announcement. Sean McConnell has returned from his whirlwind tour of Lake Tahoe with his family. So, Sean, how did they get along? I mean, families always have a few squabbles. How many squabbles would you say? 0? Very few. Nice. And I want to thank Will for standing in. He doesn't sit. Standing in for you. Did a very, very good, really good job. We got a lot of talent here. I want to salute my producer for many, many things. Among them, the enthusiastic way he greets me whenever I come into the studio. For that, too, I would need a forehead camera. Well, really, I only need a still camera. To be honest. Oh, boy. I'm curious to know if Anthony Fauci has scared you out of your Christmas plans. It breaks my heart if he did. Don't have, I mean, the audacity to break up families like that. Don't have the unvaccinated over for Christmas. Why not? If you're vaccinated. Why don't we think we're living in the age of the absurd? You're vaccinated. Did anybody who got a polio shot avoid being around people who didn't? Did anybody who got any shot until this one avoid people who didn't? What does that say about this vaccine? 1-8 Prager 776. I pray you get together. They're not getting together almost anywhere in the Western world. I don't know what the story is in Korea and Japan. Do you? I'm very curious what they're doing in Korea and Japan.
I don't think there's an issue in Korea and Japan.
No? You don't think there's an issue? Well, in the Western world, and they're part of the Western world in many ways, but in the Western world, let's say specifically Europe and North America. Now, South America's in the Western world too, but I'll put that aside for the moment. In North America and Europe, this is the freest country right now. Is Sweden allowing people to get together? Are Swedish stores open? I know Sweden has gone back. So Sweden too. So I'd really like to make a list of the free countries of the world at this time. What does free mean? They're not prohibiting you from going to places. They're not, and worse, in Canada, you can't have three other people for Christmas. So they've killed 2 Christmases in a row. It's a very, very substantial loss to a society. Very. What it does, among other things, is it shatters your rhythm of time. Not having Christmas, if you've had it all of your life, is very upsetting. the rhythm of one's life includes Christmas. And not having it is a lacuna, a hole that cannot be filled until next Christmas. Wow. I'm reading Alex Berenson's book, Pandemia. Do you know that there was, this is not from his book, I'm just noting that because when you read it, all you do is shake your head the entire time. In, where was it, Imperial Valley? A dying man.
Imperial. Oh, no, that wasn't Imperial Valley.
No?
You mean in this?
Where they prohibited, the hospital prohibited the doctor from giving a man dying of COVID, ivermectin.
A lot of stories like that.
The medical profession is a disgrace. It is a moral disgrace. I have reached the point where I've told you, if I know you have a PhD in the liberal arts, I assume you're a fool. I know that some people with PhDs in liberal arts are not fools. I know that. So I just want you to understand. I assume if you're 6'9", you play basketball. Not everybody who's 6'9" plays basketball. I acknowledge that. But we all make assumptions, correct? Correct. So now I assume if you're a doctor, I have no idea whether you are a fool, whether you are honest, whether you even know about the subject. If you consider ivermectin a horse dewormer, it means you read the New York Times or the LA Times or watch CNN, but you don't read medical studies. That's what it means. You don't read about all the doctors who have saved lives with ivermectin. Saved lives. Isn't that what your business is, doctor? At the worst, what the hell can ivermectin do? It's as safe as aspirin. The studies that they cite that were not only flawed, they were deliberately flawed. They gave too much, too late, like the one in Brazil. Why do I know that and your doctor doesn't? That's a very good question. It's very sad. I never thought I would say this. Never. Dying man, you don't give ivermectin. What do you give him? Last rites? So what you're doing with your family? Are the airports packed? I pray to God they're packed. I hope this country says, we don't give a damn what Anthony Fauci says. That would be a great moment for this country. I'm just curious, what is the airport in Amsterdam like? What is the Vienna airport like? Are they empty? Be very curious to know. This country is the last best hope. It remains that way. It's absolutely amazing. 99% of Americans don't realize we are freer, even in California. Well, not in L.A. I guess L.A. City, not county. I live in the county, not the city. L.A. City, is that like Ava was telling us Holland is? No, because the stores are open. In Holland, they're not open. Europe is really lost. What about in Britain? Are British stores open? It's interesting. Brexit was a very important thing. Unbelievably important. 1-8-Prager-776. You ready for some mind-bogglers? So, Omicron, this is the reason for not to have Christmas with your loved ones. Omicron. Omicron turns out at this moment, it may change. I don't know the future. It's a bad cold. It's not even a bad cold, I'm sorry. It's a cold. All right, everybody. I'm very curious if your plans have been shattered. Anthony Fauci. Oh, well, I won't say what I'm thinking.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
We understand that a plane has crashed into...
The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Biggest and most costly manhunt in U.S. history.
United States killed Osama bin Laden.
There are reports surfacing that Al-Qaeda has placed a $50,000 US bounty on the heads of any U.S. Navy SEALs.
Nobody's going to survive that. There's nobody in that.
This is the single largest loss of life in Afghanistan in a single incident.
Most of them are U.S. Navy SEALs.
We discovered bullets in the bodies of the Navy SEALs. The military threw them away.
More likely than not, that supports a shootout on board.
Anybody out there, we have a fallen angel.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Right? So this has changed in the culture. We now have entire stadiums screaming blank Joe Biden.
Right.
I actually think that in some measure this is a sign of health in the country.
I don't think you're wrong. In fact, my last column, I talk about in essence, what the American people are feeling in terms of how they're being treated by the current administration.
Now, excuse me, by the way, I'm not saying I approve of it.
Right.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Clearly.
But at the same time,
we're talking about what we're observing.
It seems like a strange sign of health that we feel free enough to say that.
Well, and I don't even know that we necessarily feel free. What I would say is that the American people feel like kind of a battered spouse at this point.
Okay, you wrote an article.
And that the administration is so abusive to how they're treating people that this reaction that you're seeing, and it started out in 2 college football stadiums. It's now been in dozens to hundreds.
It's the new wave.
NFL teams had it going on this week. Talladega or NASCAR or whatever they ran had people chanting it. There is something so inherently abusive about how people are being treated
by the government.
They are, and particularly in a society that wouldn't consider itself particularly Christocentric. And it is, I am actually thankful, to your point, to see a degree of we're not going to let this abuse continue, even if it's nothing more than using our freedom of speech to say something that's very vulgar and attach it to him. We're not taking it anymore.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
It certainly is. Hey, want to get yourself a Christmas gift? And I'm very serious about this. That'll last all year. $800 in savings per family average. I didn't believe it. That's not that I didn't believe it. I needed to confirm it. That's more precise. So I actually signed up with Pure Talk. Got a second phone. First time I have a second phone. A new number, everything. Wanted to see how good it is. They claimed it was the same as Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. It is. Except it's much, much less expensive. So why not sign up? What you should do is do pound 250 and say Dennis Prager, pound 250 on your phone. It's $30 a month for unlimited text and unlimited talk, 6 gigabytes of data. You get half off your first month for who has ever signed up. If you go through Dennis Prager. Pound 250, say Dennis Prager. Now, if there's an answer, hi, this is Dennis. Ooh, that's eerie. Amazing stuff here. The data show the rate of new COVID-19 cases grew faster among vaccinated people than unvaccinated people during the first 2 weeks of December. This is from the Wall Street Journal. What do you say to that, folks? So I would think right now I am in the rare, truly best protected group. Had COVID and not vaccinated. What do you say to that? That is also true for my beloved producer. How many people have a beloved producer? I mean, think of that. And I want to say that even though he's the producer and there is a power differential between us, he has never harassed me. How many years are you my producer? 20? Is that true?
Yeah.
20?
Close, very close.
Oh my God. That's dramatic. Life is amazing. 1-8-PRAGER-776. All right, what are you going to do? Jim in St. Joseph, Missouri? Where are you? Joe, where are you? Jim, I'm sorry. Jim, where are you?
St. Joseph, Michigan, sir.
Oh, it really is Michigan. My boo-boo. I thought she got it wrong, and I got it wrong. St. Joseph, Michigan. Where is that?
Right across the lake from Chicago.
So let me ask my Chicago native. Did you ever hear of it? St. Joseph? No? Interesting. You did. All right. What's on your mind, Jim?
Well, I just wanted to call. First of all, I just want to say before I get to your topic, I just finished Genesis, the Rational Bible, and now I'm reading Exodus. And it's great books. They just open up my eyes to a lot of things.
Oh, you made my day. I beg people to read the Rational Bible, and I never did that with any book I wrote. I didn't write it to get rich. It's a Bible commentary, but it's meant to be life changing. It changed my life, so I want to share that with others. So thanks very much.
Yeah, well, and I'm calling to say that Mr. Fauci is not going to ruin my Christmas.
All right.
Personally, Dennis, when this first really started just over 2 years ago, I don't know, I maybe the Lord gave me some insight, but I thought it was going to get really blown out of proportion, and the left is going to use it to try to gain more power. I believe I had COVID back in December of 2019. I'm a combat veteran, and I've had some major surgeries through the VA since then. And every time before I have surgery or go to the doctor, I'm given a test, and I've never tested positive. In fact, my antibody counts were up, and I'm like you. I feel I'm more protected than people that get the vaccine.
Well, there's no question that the natural immunity in most cases is superior. I'm curious, so how many people are getting together?
Actually, it's just my wife and I. We're going over to her sister's tomorrow night. There'll be some family members there.
So how many altogether?
Probably about 15 or 20.
Okay, that's great. Are you checking for the vaccinated or unvaccinated?
No, I'm just checking to make sure they bring me a gift.
That is one of the great responses in my radio career. Jim, you're my man. Are you checking who's unvaccinated? No, I'm just making sure I get a gift. I'm really relishing that response, I have to say. We're the happier group, you know that? I came out, was it yesterday? I think it was. Because I think, as they say on my feed, even though I'm sitting, the show makes me think. I hope it makes you think. And I came up with a very important insight yesterday. The frightened hate the unfrightened. That explains a very large amount of the hatred that is going on now. You're not scared? F you. That's what they think about us. I'm miserable. Why aren't you? I cower in fear. Why don't you? That's what your relatives who are vaccinated, who hate your guts, are thinking. I have been manipulated by the media. I unquestioningly accept Fauci. Why don't you? That's what it is. It's real hatred. We don't hate them. It's fine. There is zero hatred in the other direction. I have zero animosity to the vaccinated. Oh my God. This is a very important thing. I came up with a second insight about the frightened. The frightened are frightening. Frightened people are scary. They'll do almost anything because fear is more powerful than any other emotion. It dwarfs everything else. I wish I could give the scared a pill to have one day unscared, like I and basically everybody in my life feels. Isn't that interesting? Is there anybody in your life who's... Oh, there is, actually, yes. You have folks in your life who are scared. The living martyr's wife is here. That'll be my first question. What is it like to live with a martyr?
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
We understand that a plane has crashed into...
The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Biggest and most costly manhunt in U.S. history.
United States killed Osama bin Laden.
There are reports surfacing that Al-Qaeda has placed a $50,000 US bounty on the heads of any US Navy SEALs.
Nobody's going to survive that. There's nobody in that.
This is the single largest loss of life in Afghanistan in a single incident.
Most of them are U.S. Navy SEAls.
We discovered bullets in the bodies of the Navy SEAls. The military threw them away.
More likely than not, that supports a shootout on board.
Anybody out there, we have a fallen angel.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Judge Thomas, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
On piano, nice, nice, well done. Sean, those piano lessons really paid off. This is Leslie's husband, our screener. He's by the way, he's an incredible man of music. Yeah. He composes major film scores, for example. We talked classical music here. Yeah, I had a blast. And look, he's a great pianist, too. Yes. All right, everybody. Dennis Prager here. I wish you a Merry Christmas. That's another thing. I wish I had this little tiny invisible camera in my forehead to get people's reactions. Happy holiday. I go, Merry Christmas. And it's 50-50. Some will then say Merry Christmas. Some will say nothing. They have been taught you don't say Merry Christmas. It's not inclusive. I don't understand why wishing you my holiday, even if it's not yours, isn't that the ultimate inclusiveness? I want to include you in my festivity. If it is not your festivity, fine. What's the difference? Anyway, it's a national holiday. I always remind people, although if the ACLU had its way, it probably wouldn't be. I ought to make a list, that's a good point. I should make a list of a left-wing wish list for holidays. If we could have national holidays, what would they be? So National Here's one, for example, Repentance Day. Repentance for Racism holiday. National White Fragility Recognition Day. Wouldn't that be good? I should make a list. If the left could make national holidays, what would they be? National Crap on America Day. There we go. Have a happy Crap on America Day. You too. Same to you. Thank you. Sean, you forgot how funny I am when you were in Lake Tahoe, didn't you? Yeah, you did. You really did. It's very sad. People forget. Okay. So I want to read that to you again from the WSJ, Wall Street Journal. The rate of new COVID-19 cases grew faster among vaccinated people than unvaccinated people during the first 2 weeks of December. This makes the opposite case of Fauci. Do not invite the vaccinated to your Christmas. Right? They are a bigger threat.
Well, they're under a bigger threat.
They're under a bigger threat. Oh, exactly. But then they could pass it on if they get it. Unbelievable. The findings published in papers that haven't been peer reviewed are promising signs that immunity from prior infection or vaccination offers substantial protection against severe illness. Did you hear that? Immunity from prior infection. But it's still not acknowledged. It's like it doesn't happen, according to the CDC and NIH, utterly morally and intellectually compromised agencies. In South Africa, Wasila Jassat, a public health specialist at the National Institute of Communicable Diseases, you remember the time we spent with Wasila? It was a wonderful day in Johannesburg. I'm making that up, folks. We were in Johannesburg, but we never met Wasila Jassat. Said there had been no significant increases in admissions to critical care wards recorded over the past 4 weeks when Omicron has driven case numbers in the country sharply higher. Okay, there you go. Nevertheless, California Governor Gavin Newsom, a true moron. It doesn't say that, but I always see those words whenever I see. I'm sorry, folks, I can't help it. Mandated that healthcare workers in the state, as well as those who work in congregant facilities such as nursing homes, get booster shots. By the way, in Israel, they're up to 4. The second booster.
Yeah, Germany.
4 shots in 1 year.
Germany's right.
Germany's right there, too? Yeah, see, Israel and Germany have something in common now. They're both in hysteria mode. 4 shots. Why do they call it a vaccine? It should be called a temporary help. That's what it should be called, temporary help. I don't deny it helps. Just don't deny that on more than a few occasions it hurts. That's what I ask if you're intellectually honest. So, folks, one of the things I take that helps me immensely is Relief Factor. It's one of the few things left and right could agree on. Relief Factor works. And you should read, actually, the testimonials at relieffactor.com. They're very dramatic and they're very true. People told me at speeches they threw away their canes. So if you have muscle or joint pain, try it for 3 weeks because they say, the makers say, if it doesn't work in 3 weeks, it probably won't work. Cancel your order. So try it for 3 weeks for $19.95 plus shipping. And that's at relieffactor.com, 800-500-8384. 100.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
My mom and dad both served in the U.S. Armed Forces in World War II. That's where they met. And I think about my late parents. I think about everybody's parents and grandparents and loved ones who fought the good fight. And I just think about the state of America right now. Why is the bank branch closed in downtown St. Pete? She said staffing shortages. Can't find enough people to work. And then she looked around, and then she kind of whispered to me, "Let's go, Brandon." "Let's go, Brandon" has become a rallying cry for pushing back against the horrific Biden agenda that is destroying the economy, giving us epic inflation, joblessness, prices that are out of this world. People are unable to pay their bills, aren't paying their rent. We can't find people to work in jobs, in banks, in grocery stores, in restaurants. As David Hookstead put it about World War II, we always get up for a fight, and we must fight for this country. Don't be distracted by the machine, the beast that's covering its own tracks. Let's be ready for a battle.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Was that great, folks? That's in the Hall of Fame gym in St. Joseph, Michigan. And now he really is the famous gym of St. Joseph. See? There you go. All right, Dean Martin, correct? If that wasn't Dean Martin, I was going to take an overdose of ivermectin. Yeah. Because I would have thought I'm going out of my mind. Hey, everybody, Dennis Prager here. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas. You're allowed to say it. The C word. Yes, the C word. My fireside chat comes out on Thursdays. Where do people go for it? PragerU.com. And it's got an enormous audience. It's mostly young people, but it's great for adults too. Well, young people are adults. Young adults. And among other things, I talk about Christmas. You might want to watch it. Is it already out? Is it out in the morning on Thursdays?
No, I think it comes out in the afternoon.
Comes out in the afternoon? All right, anyway, give it a try. There are 220 fireside chats up there. You could change a person's life with the fireside chats. You know, I hate to talk about it, especially my wife is listening. But I think about it because people ask about it. Otto, the most famous dog in America, is not immortal. What do I do when Otto meets his maker? What do you think? What, you have an idea? Do I have another bulldog sit in? Well, I think about that. I mean, we have entire books for kids based on Otto Tales. They're major sellers. Anyway, my wife takes such good care of him, makes sure he doesn't gain weight, takes him on walks that would cause human beings to fall to the ground. Eats great. Oh, there he is up on the screen. Oh, Otto. You could watch the show, by the way, at Salem. What is it again?
Salem News.
SalemNews.com? Yeah. Anyway, you would have just seen Otto. Amazing when you read this stuff. I keep reading it to you. The rate of new COVID cases grew faster among vaccinated people than unvaccinated people in December, which is the month we're in. Wall Street Journal, December 22nd, 2021. Send this article to some friends. No comment. Just thought, you think I'm out of my mind about not being vaccinated? What do you say to this little piece of data? Or even better, really say this datum. Data is plural, like phenomena. Phenomenon is the singular. Datum is the singular of data. Okie dokie. Whittier, California, Jackie. Hello, Jackie.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's an honor to speak to you, Mr. Prager.
Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say that I've been in LA for 30 years.
Right.
And just in November, I became a U.S. citizen.
God bless you. Welcome.
Thank you. So I decided I was a permanent resident, and my residency never expired. But by listening to your show for over like a year and a half, I decided, you know what, I want to vote. I want to vote because my views have changed, from being more conservative. And listening to your show opened up my, my views, my mind, my opinions, and it's just, I'm so proud to be a U.S. citizen and just so excited to vote and to vote Republican. And little by little, I'm seeing more Latinos, going over to the conservative side, which I'm very,
Well, you made my day. You're like a living Christmas gift. So where were you from originally?
Honduras.
And, just for the record, I was in Tegucigalpa. And what is the Del Sol? What is it? What is the city that has three parts to it? Luna del Sol. What is it called?
Oh, I'm not sure. In Tegucigalpa?
Sorry?
In Tegucigalpa, or are you talking something?
No, another city as well. And it became the most violent city in Central America for a while.
San Pedro Sula.
Yes, that's right. San Pedro Sula. That's it, exactly. I was there too. Anyway, so you came when you were 10 years old. You're 40 now.
Correct.
Very nice. Well, you really did make my day. So how many people are going to be with you for Christmas?
My whole family, my whole siblings. We've been getting together since the beginning of COVID. We are vaccinated. I unfortunately work in the medical field, and I had to be vaccinated, which I did it. I get the flu shot. I'm like, whatever. If you get the vaccine, you don't get the vaccine. I really don't care.
Right.
I'm healthy. I'm young.
Right. Are you married?
I don't have any underlying. I'm living with my boyfriend 4 years.
Would you like to get married?
Yes, definitely.
Why hasn't he proposed?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Next time, you have him call me.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to give him hell. Hell.
He's on the Democratic side, so
all right. That explains everything. Yes, that's right. He's on the side of hey, it's just a piece of paper. We conservatives actually believe that it's an important thing. But for them, it's just a piece of
I'm pushing my conservative views and little things that I pick up from your show, and this new government has changed a lot of laws, and he has noticed. He's in the trucking industry.
So he may be coming along. I got to take a break. I would like to hug you, and I want to talk to your boyfriend, and a man-to-man talk.
Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking, bro.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Judge Thomas, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do. I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Listen, so here's the story. We got some great calls here. I'm going to leave some on for the third hour, if you can hang around. And some I'll just thank you for calling, as it were, because the next hour is going to be devoted to the greatest Christmas movies with two people who really know their movies. But let's see here. This is mind-blowing. But let me take James in Phoenix. On I guess a different issue. Hello, James.
Hello, Mr. Prager. Thank you very much for taking my call. I just want to say thank you for all the tremendous work you do to advance conservative American values and for your intellectual integrity.
Thank you.
Also have to say thank you for two phenomenal books. One, Happiness is a Serious Problem, and the other one that you had recommended, which is When Bad Things Happen to Good People. Both life-changing books.
Great, thank you.
I've been wrestling with a part of my faith recently. I'm Christian. I've been a Christian most of my life. And one of the appealing parts of Christianity to me is the idea that Christ has unconditional love and grace for mankind. And the conflict I'm having is, my understanding is that in order to be saved and to get to heaven, one has to accept Christ in one's heart. And I struggle with that, because for those who haven't accepted Christ, either voluntarily or involuntarily, it just seems like a very unjust method of salvation to me, without taking into consideration what
Have you raised this question with a pastor or priest?
I've raised it with my pastor, and he had basically shared in a very simplified way that people will eventually have the opportunity to accept Christ once they pass away. But part of me wrestles with the fact that people of the Jewish faith, if they don't accept Christ, are they going to hell? And personally, if a man like yourself isn't allowed into heaven, I'm not sure that's the kind of heaven I want to be a part of myself.
Well, look, every religion has its issues, as it were. That's the big one for sensitive Christians. I remember being in dialogue with pastors and priests 10 years every week on the radio, 2 hours. And I remember looking at one of my dear pastor friends and said, I realize now that belief is much more painful to you than it is even to me. And he said, that's right. I want to see you, Dennis, in heaven. Okie dokie, listen, so I got a whole bunch of people whose relatives backed out because of Dr. Fauci. It's painful in the extreme to see this.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
I think you're right. Justice Sotomayor was so political in her comments. She would like to delay this until the middle of July. She'd like to delay it till the day before the election because she thinks there's going to be a revolution. I think she's wrong, but the sooner the better from my point of view. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this will probably be the last decision they announce. I think it's just in keeping with almost a tradition of the biggest ones coming on the last day. There are a lot of Democrats who believe that if Roe versus Wade is overturned, this mitigates or maybe even completely shifts the midterms of 2022 and that they have a big political benefit from that. I'm not sure this actually has that huge an impact in 2022. Let's say it comes down in late June, early July. We've seen over decade by decade the number of abortions go down. We've seen decade by decade the number of unplanned or unexpected pregnancies go down. There are some interesting surveys that indicating that all general sexual activity is declining year by year. All of these are factors that lead to demand to abortion. So reducing demand for abortions means that fewer people think about it. And I think most people don't think about abortion until they either want one or someone they know wants one or needs one or something like that. So in those circumstances, I think come November 2022, whatever the state of the economy is, whatever the state of gas prices, food prices, if the supply chain issues are, is COVID in the rearview mirror, crime, the border, what's being taught in our schools, all those things are going to be in the issue environment for 2022. So will people who care about abortion vote on abortion? Yes, absolutely. And they always do, year in and year out. But Terry McAuliffe put a lot of effort into trying to make this the governor's race a referendum on abortion. And it didn't shake out that way.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
My mom and dad both served in the U.S. Armed Forces in World War II. That's where they met. And I think about my late parents. I think about everybody's parents and grandparents and loved ones who fought the good fight. And I just think about the state of America right now. Why is the bank branch closed in downtown St. Pete? She said staffing shortages. Can't find enough people to work. And then she looked around, and then she kind of whispered to me, "Let's go, Brandon." "Let's go, Brandon" has become a rallying cry for pushing back against the horrific Biden agenda that is destroying the economy, giving us epic inflation, joblessness, prices that are out of this world. People are unable to pay their bills, aren't paying their rent. We can't find people to work in jobs, in banks, in grocery stores, in restaurants. As David Hookstead put it about World War II, we always get up for a fight, and we must fight for this country. Don't be distracted by the machine, the beast that's covering its own tracks. Let's be ready for a battle.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
We understand that a plane has crashed into...
The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Biggest and most costly manhunt in U.S. history.
United States killed Osama bin Laden.
There are reports surfacing that Al-Qaeda has placed a $50,000 US bounty on the heads of any U.S. Navy SEALs.
Nobody's going to survive that. There's nobody in that.
This is the single largest loss of life in Afghanistan in a single incident.
Most of them are U.S. Navy SEALs.
We discovered bullets in the bodies of the Navy SEALs. The military threw them away.
More likely than not, that supports a shootout on board.
Anybody out there, we have a fallen angel.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Christmas. Great to be with you. Is this an annual tradition of our show or not?
I wouldn't call it annual, no.
Because I don't think we did it last year.
No, I think it's actually been longer than we think.
I think you're right. I don't recall the last time.
We're talking years.
Years, that's right. The female voice you're hearing, she identifies as female. I know some of you are curious about that. Pronoun. What are your pronouns? Your preferred pronouns are she?
I and she.
You are, okay. The she we're talking about is Mrs. Martyr. Mrs. Martyr. I really like that. So I have known Susie as long as I have known Alan. Susie is Alan's wife, and Alan's career prior to my coercing him to be my producer, cajoling him. I've never cajoled a human being as much as I cajoled Alan. It took me years to convince him to be the producer of the show. It has worked out. Is that fair to say? Okay. And that was 20 years ago, but we know each other 35 years. And of course, I'm deeply involved in their lives, and both of them in mine. Susie Esprin is, as I would say, even more knowledgeable about films than Alan. And he has affirmed that with a nod of his head. You can see them both, by the way, at, where can they see them? Salem Now?
Salem News.
Or then Salem News Channel. Oh, Salem Now is the streaming service, right. Salem News.com. It's an app. You should really, it's fun to watch this. It took me a long time to really promote it, but now they're doing a good job, and you can see the guests. So Alan's career was screenwriting. That was his career, simple as that. And he is one of the few to have taught at the American Film Institute. He was a professor of screenwriting. And Susie even knows more films than Alan. So we had this, I don't know, 5 years ago, maybe. What are the great Christmas movies? So that's what we're going to talk about this hour, so don't call in on other subjects right now. Next hour, you can call in on anything you want. But right now, it's great Christmas movies. So I'm very curious. I was thinking about this before today. Like this year, did they make a Christmas movie this year?
Right now, most Christmas movies are appearing on the Hallmark Channel or Lifetime Women's Channel. That's where they go.
The new ones?
The new ones, most of the time. There are a few exceptions. This year, I can't think of an exception.
Yeah, I can't either. It's actually an interesting question, because this might be the first year, or maybe last year, that Hollywood hasn't had a major Christmas movie release that's about on a Christmas theme. But it's been pretty much left to cable TV.
I think that's a very important social statement. Hollywood has made Christmas movies since when?
Since Hollywood began.
Wow. So since the 30s?
No, since the 1910s.
Oh, silent movies.
Silent, yes. Every year there were. No kidding. Every year. They never missed.
So this is 100 years. 100 years as the tradition has ended.
Could be. It's I'm just not aware of
I'm not aware of
anything this year.
Wow.
I mean, sometimes they make silly and funny Christmas movies, but they're Christmas movies. You know, they might make something like Bad Santa or something like that, but at least it's a nod to Christmas.
So do you think it's as important a statement as I do? Or it's just they figure, oh, the cable will take care of it?
I think it's a little bit of a mix of both, but it is an interesting... I hadn't thought about it until just now.
That's my job, to ask people things they hadn't thought about. Serious. I'm very serious about that. I think they don't care. I have a dark view of why Hollywood didn't make a Christmas movie this year or last year. I don't think it's just, oh, well, the Hallmark Channel will take care of it. I think they just don't care. It doesn't matter to the new generation of producers in Hollywood. Is that
I think it's very fair. It's a fair statement.
Do you agree? Wow.
Because the nature of a Christmas movie is always going to suggest renewal and redemption is the theme of every Christmas film.
They're all meant to be uplifting.
Yeah, I would think.
So you have to do that going in. Even movies where the characters, I mean, we'll talk about a couple where the characters start off as being very bad people, but because of the Christmas experience, they change. And that theme is not a particularly attractive theme to Hollywood.
Redemption. Mm-hmm. That's why I said I think it's an extremely important thing. I did not know the answer to my question. I mean, look, folks, it's pretty clear. If something has been happening every year for 100 years and then it doesn't, there's got to be a reason. It's got to be significant at the very least. What was the last really good Christmas movie?
That's another tough one. If we're talking about great classic movies that have stood the test of time,
or even the test of the Estrons. I don't
well,
we
have some on our list that are from the mid '90s.
Well, oh my God, that's 30 years ago.
2006. I think that's the
that
most
was
recent one.
And
we've
what
got
was what was the movie in 2006?
The Last Holiday.
Oh yeah, I think that's a really nice movie.
Interesting.
So why don't you describe the Last Holiday?
I will in a second, but before we start actually describing films we want to recommend, we want to acknowledge the elephants that really won't be in the room this time. And that is the best Christmas movie that's really ever been made, in our opinion, is It's a Wonderful Life.
Couldn't agree more.
1941.
Well,
1946.
That's true redemption.
And that is true redemption. It's a wonderful film. If you haven't seen it, you should see it.
And if you have seen it, you should see it.
Every year.
It should be a tradition.
And we're also not going to talk about A Christmas Story, which you can watch pretty much every day during the 3 weeks before Christmas. It's a wonderful movie. It's really fun. It's terribly entertaining. And if
when was that made?
That 1983.
That's the one that Gene Shepard, sort of life story.
Oh.
You remember Gene Shepard?
He was my mentor in talk radio. I don't mean personally.
No.
I mean at WOR in New York. I listened as a kid. No, I don't think there were ads, and no, never a guest. He just talked, and I remember thinking, "That's impressive." He just talked. You were describing the last good one that you think. By the way, you folks are free to call in, but don't call in on anything except Christmas movies right now. So this is 2006.
2006, Last Holiday is a movie with Queen Latifah and LL Cool J and Timothy Hutton. Those are the most prominent actors. And it's an oblique Christmas movie. It's not really celebrating Christmas as much, but the theme is Christmas, and it is certainly redemption. It is the story of a shy, conscientious woman who works in a department store in Louisiana and is the head of the cookware department, and she suddenly has an accident and is diagnosed with a terminal illness to die in less than a month. Being totally shocked, she decides to take her entire life savings, and she's been very frugal, and she's going to go to an Austrian chalet and spend her last week someplace in beauty. And there she meets a senator, the man who actually owns the department store she works in. And what occurs is they are dumbfounded by how accepting and enthusiastic and embracing of life she is.
I want to see it.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to watch it this weekend.
You'd enjoy it.
But but you realize it's 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Can you even name a Christmas movie in the last 15 years? I mean, you guys are really up on movies. Maybe you can, and you're invited to call in. I mean, look, there's just been a decline in anything deep coming from Hollywood. Anything. It's all special effects.
Or it's political.
Or woke.
Yeah, or woke.
Back in a moment.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
The whole thing is up in flames. I don't even want to waste a lot of time on the degenerate who burned it down. It was a guy from Brooklyn, I think 49 years old. They miraculously got him. And I just cannot shake what a metaphor that is. You know, millions and millions of people watch Fox News. Fox News celebrates American exceptionalism, greatness. The very, very patriotic channel. There's no way around that. They love the country. They proudly air plenty of conservative views, along with liberal views as well. They try to take their fair and balanced mantra pretty seriously. And some evil guy decided to burn down the Fox News channel red, white, and blue Christmas tree last night. And it's gone. And I just keep thinking about how much evil there is right now in the country, what we're up against as Americans. Right is wrong, good is evil, up is down, everything is inside out. And I was so anguished this morning in hearing about this and so upset. And I know a lot of it is because of my personal relationship over the years with Fox. I spent many, many hours walking to and from Fox as a Fox News contributor. I guest hosted Sean Hannity's show a number of times. I guest hosted Fox and Friends back in the day. I was on Fox many, many nights.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
You have Attorney Binger pick up an AR-15.
Oh my God, yeah.
And just decide you have better trigger posture than him, Kyle.
Kyle, what is he pointing at in the?
Is he threatening the jury?
Pretty much. He was pointing his gun at the gallery, and I looked at my attorney.
This is your gun, right?
That's my rifle.
Yeah, that is yours, right?
That we're having destroyed right now. We don't want anything to do with that.
Oh wow.
So I looked at Corey and I said, Corey, that's gun safety 101. Loaded or unloaded. Treat a gun like it's loaded.
Yeah. And he points it at the jury.
Exactly.
I think at that point I said, all right, they're freaking out. I mean, they got nothing left.
So there's this video that the FBI had in their archives, 14 months. It clearly shows you being chased down by this deranged individual, corners you, all of it, HD. You know, this isn't, behind the cars, because, and this was always key that people who are looking at this never got, is that all the camera footage from that night was surface level, right? Because it's handheld. So, and of course, Richie thinks he has his camera going, but he doesn't. And he's beating himself up over that, but it happens in the heat of the moment, that this thing is above, looking down, sees the whole thing. You can actually see the anger and just insanity in Rosenbaum's face as he's chasing you, that I don't think you show that face to anybody, that they would think that this guy,
let alone threatening to kill them twice that night.
Right, that he has anything other than, very dangerous, evil intentions.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
What the hell is that? For Life? Wow. Did you guys recognize this? And you both know the movie so well. Oh, now it's got that old Hollywood sound. Hey, everybody, Dennis Prager here. I haven't done this in a number of years. We used to do it pretty regularly, the greatest Christmas movies. And I truly am in the presence of two experts on film. And if they can't name a good Christmas movie since 2006, that's disconcerting. And none was made by Hollywood in the last 2 years. I mean, these are losses. Just let me veer from the Christmas question for one moment. What is Hollywood making?
They make and exist to make superhero movies. That's where the money is, and that's what they do. And then there are the political movies that the executives feel good about making.
Yeah, but very few watch them.
Very few watch them.
Yeah.
And you see the result in the Academy Awards. I mean, the Academy Awards used to be a national night of TV watching. It's no longer the case. And they've actually expanded the number of nominees for Best Film from, it was always 5, and then
it's 15.
It's 10. And there are 10 films that nobody has seen.
Right. Why did they do that?
They did it because they thought it would make the show more popular. There was a greater likelihood that somebody would have seen some of those films.
You agree, Susie?
Totally.
Susie, do you watch the Academy Awards? I assume it was a ritual in your life.
It was a total ritual in my life. 2 years ago, it became really difficult for me. And last year, I taped it and watched as much as I could stand between the speeches. The speeches were almost all political.
Right. By the way, you will find, both of you will find this fascinating. So I was watching a piece of contemporary music on YouTube that was recommended to me from a man in Holland. And, you know, when YouTube, as many apps, it will then go automatically into another piece of music. So what came on? Actual video of Leonard Bernstein rehearsing West Side Story. So what are we talking, the 60s? It's along to 60 years ago. So he's talking to the orchestra and the singers and mentioning something negative in the film and adds, just like the Republicans. And I couldn't believe, I mean, it's Leonard Bernstein, who outside of music was an a-hole, a true disgusting human being. And he was a woke leftist. He was a pro black violent activist. And so they can't help themselves. Would a conservative in the 60s have said that, just like the Democrats, while rehearsing an orchestra? It's almost inconceivable.
Almost inconceivable.
Just like the Republicans. I'm going to play that. I'm going to isolate it and bring it into the studio. I'm going to send it to Sean.
So let's hit some of the classics here. And we'll begin with A Christmas Carol.
What year is that?
1951. It is an adaptation of the Dickens story. And there have been many Hollywood adaptations. This one is actually English. It's an English film. But there have been many adaptations of, probably more adaptations of A Christmas Carol.
There's even one with Mickey Mouse.
When did that come out?
That came out in the 60s. Yeah, it's a cartoon. Lovely.
Is it good?
Yeah, very good.
But this one is probably...
Who's in it?
It's a great British... It stars a great British actor by the name of Alistair Sim. And it's just the sort of... another of those movies that you shouldn't go through Christmas without seeing, if not every year, once every few years. It's just so beautifully done. And of course, it's a wonderful, important story. And this movie tells it as well as anyone.
And Alistair Sim's performance, particularly after Scrooge's redemption, is one of the most joyous, delightful things I've ever seen.
So if I watch one, which should it be? The one from
1951.
No. I mean between that and the 2006 one.
I mean, I'd have to say Christmas Carol is
mandatory.
Mandatory, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
But you'd also like...
I assume it's black and white, right?
It's black and white, yeah.
It's funny. I don't think... I'm not sure if this is what I'm about, but I don't think kids won't watch a black and white movie. I think there was a time when it was, oh my God, black and white, and I'm not sure that's... It's like kids like to use records now on record players. Some things sort of come back. I think black and white has... Do you care if it's a black and white movie?
No, I certainly don't, but I'm not... I think another interesting question, because I tend to agree with you. It doesn't seem to be the issue it once was. Everything
right. It once was.
We had an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old doing an overnight the last week, and we showed 2 black and white films.
Right, and
like
they couldn't
them both.
care less. Yes, that is an interesting thing. There was a time when it was. Now it's sort of oh, that's cool. By the way, do they make any black and white movies now?
They do, but it's obviously very rare and done for a certain kind of effect.
Yeah. So, all right. So the top on your list is...
Well, I wouldn't say it doesn't have to be the top, but it's very, very near the top. Let's move on to another one, which this is another total Christmas classic, and that's Miracle on 34th Street.
Right.
Which, again, if you...
What year? I'm sorry. What
that's
year
1947. If you haven't seen it, you must see it. And if you've seen it many years ago, you'll just love watching it again, and it'll bring back all kinds of memories. It's just a very sweet movie about Santa appearing in New York, and no one believes that this guy is Santa.
Yeah. I loved it. I want to ask you, both of you, it's not specifically a Christmas question. Do they make any sweet movies now?
They do, but again, a lot of this has been taken over by cable stations. And I have to say, I'm giving a completely unsolicited plug to a group of movies called Signed, Sealed, and Delivered that are written by Martha Williamson, who did Touched by an Angel. And there was a brief series. There are a series of, I think, 11 movies, all available on DVD.
Okay, I want to hear more about that.
Heartwarming.
Back in a moment.
They're lovely.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store, or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
We understand that a plane has crashed into...
The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
biggest and most costly manhunt in U.S. history.
United States killed Osama bin Laden.
There are reports surfacing that Al Qaeda has placed a $50,000 US bounty on the heads of any U.S. Navy SEALs.
Nobody's going to survive that. There's nobody in that.
This is the single largest loss of life in Afghanistan in a single incident.
Most of them are U.S. Navy SEALs.
We discovered bullets in the bodies of the Navy SEALs. The military threw them away.
More likely than not, that supports a shootout on board.
Anybody out there, we have a fallen angel.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
No have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking gone.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dream cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Hey everybody, Dennis Prager here. At one time it was annual, then semi-annual, then not even close to annual. So welcome to our not even close to annual Christmas movies hour. I love being in the presence of people who know 10 times more than I do. I really do. I'm not joking. It's fun. You learn from them. I just don't know movies anywhere as much as they do. By the way, I love movies. Just for the record, I really do. I don't see enough, frankly, but I do love it when I see it. So we're talking about Christmas movies, and we began the hour with the sad insight that they don't make them anymore. And that, according to my two experts, Alan and Susie Estrin, the last one was 2006. We're talking about the greatest ever made, so Christmas Carol of 51, and what was the one you were just? Oh, so wait, you were telling us, Susie, that if you want to see some good ones, go to the Hallmark Channel.
Right, the Hallmark Channel produced a series called Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. It was originally first. It's about 15 short 1-hour series, and then they went to movies, 2-hour movies. They are the 2-hour movies, Signed, Sealed, and Delivered. They each, one is The Impossible Dream, one is For Christmas. They all have individual titles, and they're available packaged on DVD, or you can catch them on the Hallmark Channel.
By the way, are people buying DVDs? Are they still being?
I even still buy DVDs
you do?
Occasionally.
And the reason?
The reason is that sometimes it's just much easier to whip out a DVD when our two little visitors are coming over, or. sometimes the signal is not always great in our house to do streaming.
Well, that totally makes sense. What's your next one on the list?
I would like to talk about The Shop Around the Corner, which is lesser known. 1940. The Shop Around the Corner eventually became You've Got Mail. It was remade with Tom Hanks. And the original stars Margaret Sullivan and Jimmy Stewart. It's a delightful film, and it's about two people who have fallen in love as personal correspondents, but they work together and they can't stand each other. And they, of course, don't know that the person they think they're in love with is the person that they're sneering at during the day. And it's a very charming,
that is charming,
romantic comedy.
As well as Christmas.
Steeped entirely in Christmas and redemption, because there's a side story of the owner of the shop who's consumed with jealousy because he thinks his wife is having an affair. And she is, but not with the person he suspects. And
what's the name of that film?
It's The Shop Around the Corner, and it also has, I just feel obliged to plug this, it's got one of the sweetest scenes near the end when the owner of the shop finds out, and the owner of the shop is now estranged from his wife, and he finds out that the 17-year-old boy that they've hired has no place to go for Christmas. And the little conversation he has with him, asking him to just go out to dinner and realizing that he won't be alone and this boy won't be alone, is just the sweetest thing. And real, true Christmas message.
Aside from Christmas, can you tell me, are there human redemption movies made anymore? Or has that gone the way of the Dodo and the Christmas movie?
I think there are human redemption movies made, sure.
Okay.
Because it's a very common theme, because it's very difficult for people to watch a movie, any movie, on anything that has an unhappy ending. Movies are not geared audience-wise for that kind of outcome.
Well, I'm now going to interject a wonderful Christmas movie that is actually very sad, and you need a box of Kleenex to go with it. It's called All Mine to Give from 1957. Glynis Johns and Cameron Mitchell, so it was not A-list actors. But it's based on a true story, and the punchline to the true story is a 12-year-old has to give away his 5 brothers and sisters after both parents die tragically. This is in the 1850s. But it is one of the most heartwarming, in part because of the community that these people and the common values, just what was expected of human decency at that time.
Again, the name?
The name is called All Mine to Give.
You agree on that, Alan?
Absolutely. It's a beautiful, beautiful film. And the fact that it's a true story makes it even more compelling.
And the fact is, it's a true story that was written for the screen by the grandson of the little boy who had to give his brothers and sisters away.
All right, everybody. We're going to continue. First, a reminder, if you're... I have a great connection to make. If you're in pain, it's tough to enjoy a movie. So, in the Christmas movie spirit, try Relief Factor. It's an amazing product. It's so good that the makers of the product say that if it doesn't work in 3 weeks, it won't work. Or no, it probably won't work. Some people have tried it longer and it did. But that 3 weeks will tell you. So there's a special price, $19.95 for 3 weeks. Go to ReliefFactor.com. I take it regularly. ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began. the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
We understand that a plane has crashed into...
The people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Biggest and most costly manhunt in U.S. history.
United States killed Osama bin Laden.
There are reports surfacing that Al-Qaeda has placed a $50,000 US bounty on the heads of any U.S. Navy SEALs.
Nobody's going to survive that. There's nobody in that.
This is the single largest loss of life in Afghanistan in a single incident.
Most of them are U.S. Navy SEALs.
We discovered bullets in the bodies of the Navy SEALs. The military threw them away.
More likely than not, that supports a shootout on board.
Anybody out there, we have a fallen angel.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking gone.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
The Grinch Who Stole Christmas. I love this guy's voice. Wow. What was his first name? Thurl? To get this far in life with that name is an achievement. All right, thank you. I really love this guy's voice. Has he done? Are you familiar with him? Has he made a career? Thurl, what's his last name? Thurl Ravenscroft? Hey, that's the name I would make up. That should be on our list. Put the guy's name anyway. How do you spell Thurl? Thurl? Nice.
All right, let's move on to something that's we just did something kind of heavy. All Mine to Give, 1957.
This is talking about Christmas movies.
Now to something really fun.
Yep.
Christmas in Connecticut, 1945. Why don't you describe that?
Well, it's Barbara Stanwyck and Dennis Morgan and two absolutely wonderful character actors named Sidney Greenstreet and S.Z. Sakal, who was known as Cuddles. And Cuddles Sakal is one of the great character actors of the 30s and 40s. He's in Casablanca. He's in
What role is he on in Casablanca?
He's essentially the bartender.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Christmas in Connecticut is a magazine food writer, is a huge national success. by pretending that she's a great cook, a happy wife, living on a farm, and a great mother. She's not married. She has no baby. She doesn't live on a farm, but in a New York apartment, and she can't cook at all. But her best friend is the Cuddles Sakal character, who's a great chef, and who gives her all his recipes. And everything works out greatly for her until the publisher decides he has no place to go for Christmas, and there is a sailor that has been rescued. This is just post-World War II. And the sailor was stranded out on a small boat for weeks, and this will be his first great meal after he gets home. So the publisher says, gee, I'm coming, and we're going to have Christmas at your house.
Oh, no.
The amount of machination she goes to try to make it work is truly fun. And it winds up being a romantic comedy.
Oh, why? Who does
because
she fall
she
in
falls
love
for
with?
the sailor.
Oh, for the sailor. Makes perfect sense.
And
so, what year? 47?
45.
Yeah, 45.
Oh, so it's literally the year the war ends.
Yeah.
And who is the she? Who's the actress?
Barbara Stanwyck.
Oh, who's
one of the great.
Even I know who she is.
And very fun. Very entertaining.
Again, the name?
Christmas in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's very appealing sounding, I have to say.
Very enjoyable.
She really faked it. I mean, what
really
you described.
We had a great conversation with the 12-year-old about how in this movie, everybody lies to everybody else.
Oh, that's great. Yes.
And very, very well done. Another fun one is While You Were Sleeping from 1995 with Sandra Bullock. A lonely Chicago Transit Authority ticket taker rescues a handsome young commuter when he falls off the tracks and saves him from certain deaths. When she gets it, she goes to the hospital to accompany him, and she is mistaken for his fiancé. And his family, who is so excited that she saved him, and even though he's comatose, there's still the aspect that he'll be okay. They embrace her, and she doesn't have the heart to tell them that she's not the fiancé. So it's another one with quite a few deceptions, but it's a truly, truly charming romantic comedy.
Which is my favorite genre.
And it's all Christmas, and it's also different kinds of redemption to it. So.
What year again?
1995.
Oh. There you go.
A mere 26 years ago?
Yeah, exactly. That is correct. All right, let me see what people are calling in about and have you react. Let's see.
Why don't we take line 2?
Okay, fine. Jerry, Long Beach, California. Hello.
Oh, I'm surprised. Die Hard. Christmas is throughout the movie, and there's redemption at the end where the couple renew their relationship, and then there's a beat cop that got the courage again to take action at the end of the movie.
Yeah, well, Jerry, we knew you were going to call, not you, Jerry, but we knew someone would call and mention Die Hard, so we're prepared. It's the greatest Christmas action movie of all time, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
And it's a fabulous movie. Die Hard is actually, people don't realize this, but Die Hard changed Hollywood history because it created a whole new genre, and it's a great movie. And everything you say is accurate. It has great theme of redemption and renewal all throughout the film.
And I will say, so my kids had mentioned that they're older. It's definitely not like a young family movie.
Right.
But we were just celebrating all the Christmas references throughout the movie. It was, it is kind of interjected with violence at the same time too, but a little bit dark with that. But it was just a lot of fun we had the other night.
Well, great. Thank you for calling. You knew it, huh? You knew they would be.
It had to come up.
All right, that's excellent. All right, Santa Monica, California, Marion. Hello.
Hi, Dennis. Remember the Night, 1940. Barbara Stanwyck, Fred McMurray, 4 years before they teamed for Double Indemnity, and it was written by Preston Sturgis. and it takes place at Christmas. He is a prosecutor, she is a shoplifter, and during the Christmas recess, he decides he'll take her home to Indiana, seems to be a popular state, and this movie builds to, it has such a special mood, because they have to go back, of course, to
Do you guys agree?
Totally.
And,
And you gave a great description of it, I must say. You really gave it very
right,
concise.
so Marion, you'll come on next time.
Preston Sturgis,
All right, we got to take a break.
Oh,
I want to
okay,
hear it.
right.
I'm very
Yeah.
curious. What a fun story, 51.
Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking gone.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime.
I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Some song. I crack up every time.
I love this song.
And there were so many renditions of it. From what? Neptune.
Yes, I recognize it. Neptune's daughter.
Daughter.
Do you know
I'm here
that-
with Susan Estrin and Alan Estrin, who are true experts in the world of movies. And it's our non-annual visit to great Christmas movies. What else is on your list? Oh, you were going to say about Preston Sturgis.
Well, Preston Sturgis is one of the... I have a special affection for Preston Sturgis. Remember the Night was just referred to before the break, and which is It is a great movie because Preston Sturges was one of the 5 great Hollywood screenwriters.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Just magnificent screenwriter.
And his comedies hold up very well.
Wow, that's fascinating. By the way, Preston Sturges should meet Thurl Ravenswood.
Maybe they knew each other.
Yeah.
So there's a whole list of movies we didn't get to, so why don't we just kind of run through them quickly, starting with Meet Me in St. Louis, 1944, Judy Garland. We play Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas all the time. And it's truly another beautiful movie about a family. This is great. You'll love this. The whole theme of the movie basically is a family lives in St. Louis, and the father gets a great job in New York, and the family doesn't want to move to New York. And
I would love that.
The arc of the movie is convincing the father that St. Louis is better than New York.
Oh God, I should have started that movie.
Another great Christmas movie, The Bishop's Wife, starring Cary Grant, Loretta Young, David Niven.
Well, that's a serious movie.
It's serious, yeah. It's not a comedy. No, but it's one of those movies that it's a deep film.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know that one.
And
wasn't there a second edition?
Yeah,
of that, maybe?
there was with Denzel Washington. Was within the last 15 years or so.
About 15.
Yeah.
All right, so look, you know what? Let me tell what a quick. Oh, by the way, look at this. Portland, Oregon. Craig, The Bishop's Wife. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well done, Craig. Let's see. Christmas Chronicles with Goldie Hawn. Any reaction?
Not from me. I haven't seen it.
Okay. The Family Man with Nicolas Cage. Is that a Christmas movie?
It's
on the border.
It's on the border.
Folks, this was great. 2 of you, thank you so much. Susie,
we're going to put our list up on DennisPrager.com.
Yes. The list will be up at DennisPrager.com. I am going to follow it. No question. All right, we continue. Now, call in on anything, my friends. 3rd hour before our Christmas break on the Dennis Prager Show.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
So Sotomayor subscribes to this idea that the law needs to bend and shift and change according to the timing and the place. Al Gore put it in his presidential campaign, a living constitution, something that moves and has different boundaries at different times. Constitutionalists, conservatives, strict constructionists have always said, no, what the founders wrote was what they meant, and we need to fully understand and appreciate what the words mean and let the words be the guiding influence of the judgment in terms of what is legal and what is not legal in the days to come. So this is, and you're going to see headlines coming out of this particular court case, unlike any Supreme Court case we've seen in recent times, because the stakes are so high. But let me clarify something about what this case means and doesn't mean. A lot of people walking around misinformed, even talking to television networks, are talking about how immediately abortion's going to be banned and no one's going to be able to get an abortion and it's just going to go away overnight, and all the white male racists that are running this country will have succeeded in making the country in their own image. That is completely false. If Roe v. Wade falls tomorrow in New York, California, New Jersey, a handful of other states, you're going to have legal abortion until the cows come home. And it may never change in some of those states because legislatively, you've got a base of population there that have said over and over again, we want this to be legal. The problem with Roe is not that states can't have abortion if their population wants it. It's that ones who want to restrict it or try to even ban it altogether have been prevented from doing so when that's the will of their population, their people that live there.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
make is, I think you're right. Justice Sotomayor was so political in her comments. She would like to delay this until the middle of July. She'd like to delay it till the day before the election because she thinks there's going to be a revolution. I think she's wrong, but the sooner the better from my point of view. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this will probably be the last decision they announce. I think it's just in keeping with almost a tradition of the biggest ones coming on the last day. There are a lot of Democrats who believe that if Roe versus Wade is overturned, this mitigates or maybe even completely shifts the midterms of 2022 and that they have a big political benefit from that. I'm not sure this actually has that huge an impact in 2022. Let's say it comes down in late June, early July. We've seen over decade by decade the number of abortions go down. We've seen decade by decade the number of unplanned or unexpected pregnancies go down. There are some interesting surveys that indicating that all general sexual activity is declining year by year. All of these are factors that lead to demand to abortions. So reducing demand for abortions means that fewer people think about it. And I think most people don't think about abortion until they either want one or someone they know wants one or needs one or something like that. So in those circumstances, I think come November 2022, whatever the state of the economy is, whatever the state of gas prices, food prices, if the supply chain issues are, is COVID in the rearview mirror, crime, the border, what's being taught in our schools, all those things are going to be in the issue environment for 2022. So will people who care about abortion vote on abortion? Yes, absolutely. And they always do, year in and year out. But Terry McAuliffe put a lot of effort into trying to make this the governor's race a referendum on abortion. And it didn't shake out that way.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
My mom and dad both served in the U.S. Armed Forces in World War II. That's where they met. And I think about my late parents. I think about everybody's parents and grandparents and loved ones who fought the good fight. And I just think about the state of America right now. Why is the bank branch closed in downtown St. Pete? She said staffing shortages. Can't find enough people to work. And then she looked around, and then she kind of whispered to me, "Let's go, Brandon." "Let's go, Brandon" has become a rallying cry for pushing back against the horrific Biden agenda that is destroying the economy, giving us epic inflation, joblessness, prices that are out of this world. People are unable to pay their bills, aren't paying their rent. We can't find people to work in jobs, in banks, in grocery stores, in restaurants. As David Hookstead put it about World War II, we always get up for a fight, and we must fight for this country. Don't be distracted by the machine, the beast that's covering its own tracks. Let's be ready for a battle.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
All right, everybody, the final hour before Christmas, because I'm off tomorrow, but we still have a show tomorrow, of course, a best of, which are at least as popular as the live shows, so you should tune in. But I want to give my staff a vacation here so that Sean can finish putting up his tree and decorating it. Sean has a very inclusive tree, by the way. This is not well known. He has Buddhist, Jewish, Shinto, Confucian, and Hindu symbols on his tree. In fact, he has atheist symbols on his tree as well. Those are the parts of the tree that have nothing on them. The inclusion tree. That's great. That's the name. Sean has an inclusion tree. I love that. That's right, because Christmas is not inclusive enough. Yeah, what would symbolize, and it's interesting, isn't it? So what symbolizes atheism? A blank spot. I think that's fair to say. Oh, boy. 1-8-Prager-776. So what's on your mind this coming Christmas? And I read to you stuff about COVID. I'm really dying to know if Tony Fauci has screwed up your Christmas. It's so painful to me, the idiocy that he recommends if your unvaccinated relatives shouldn't show up. I read to you from the Wall Street Journal yesterday that the vaccinated are getting the newest variant more than the unvaccinated. Here, let me give it to you. So the question is, should you allow the vaccinated into your house? Wouldn't that be a great one? If you're vaccinated, please don't come. Here, I mean, the data show, here you go, Wall Street Journal. The rate of new COVID-19 cases grew faster among vaccinated people than unvaccinated people during the first 2 weeks of December. This is quite a vaccine. They're already up to the fourth in 1 year. In 1 year, four vaccinations. It's not a vaccine. It's a temporary help. I'll grant that it's a temporary help if it doesn't hurt you. It hurts a lot of people, but if it doesn't hurt you, it can be a temporary help. I don't deny that. But that's all it is, temporary help. That's why there's a booster in the first year and now a second booster within a year. The Israeli, what is it? The Israelis and the Germans are the key ones on that. Mm-hmm. And folks, I do remind you that America is the freest country in the Western world right now. I have to check on Bulgaria because Ava mentioned Bulgaria was pretty open as well. I have a deep affection for Bulgaria, as some of you might know. I like Bulgarians, and I have an affection for the country. It is not well known. Bulgaria saved more of its Jews in the Holocaust than any country. How many people know that? You know why people don't know that? Well, for one thing, they don't know much because they went to college. But the other reason is we don't know goodness. We know evil. Evil is much better known than goodness. It's very unfortunate because goodness is the aberration, not evil. That should be obvious to any of you at this time. Let's see here. Oh yeah, you know they're debating whether to fire Navy SEALs who are not vaccinated because we can really afford to lose them.
We invest in literally millions.
Well, not only do we invest millions of dollars in them, how many people can be one? Yeah. I mean, these are treasures, Navy SEALs. They're treasures. Yeah. So is America helped or hurt more if Navy SEALs are released from the service? By the way, it's still a question I've not gotten an answer to for myself, and that question is if they're starting to discharge members of the military for not being vaccinated, and I salute every one of those members of the military the risk to you is greater at your age from the vaccine than from COVID. Okay, that's a fact, not an opinion. And are they dishonorably discharged or are they honorably discharged? Do you know? It's a vile world the left has created in this country. It is vile. What the frightened, the combination of the left and the frightened. Remember my new aphorism: the frightened hate the unfrightened. Okay, let's go to Mark in Cleveland. I don't have to say Ohio. Everybody knows where Cleveland is. Hi.
Good afternoon.
Thank
it was
you.
Kind of a twofold question. I was trying to take advantage of you have that new feature where you can find your opinion on different things.
Oh.
And I went in to research it, and I couldn't find anything concerning cigars, and I thought that was an anomaly since you always...
Yeah, well, you
would
can
like to
find
talk
it in
about
print. If you put Dennis Prager cigars, you'll see my columns on it. In fact, one of them was, I was interviewed by a cigar magazine. That's probably up on YouTube. And I wrote a piece on cigars. Anyway, what's your question?
Specifically, I know your brother's a doctor, and why are cigars not as dangerous as cigarettes? My understanding is it's mostly the chemicals in cigarettes that...
No. The reason has nothing to do... Well, it has something to do with that, but the biggest reason is you don't inhale a cigar, you inhale cigarettes. So they have nothing in common. They truly have virtually nothing in common except that they both use fire.
Right. And as a cigar aficionado and a firefighter, people look at me like I'm daft because how could you smoke cigars when you're in all these compromised environments? And I look at them like they have nothing. They're totally unrelated.
That's right. They're totally unrelated.
I was just trying to get it.
Yes. All right. Listen, thank you for that. That's correct. They're totally unrelated. Mayo Clinic lies on its website. I accuse the Mayo Clinic of lying. It says that cigars are as dangerous as cigarettes. It's very interesting that 25 years ago I put my finger on this. I knew that the war against tobacco was going to lead to bad things. And I have never denied that a third of cigarette smokers approximately die because they smoked cigarettes. I believe that is a fact. But for many reasons, I wrote that I thought it was misguided. And what it did was it opened the door to we can suppress liberty in the name of health. That's what the war on tobacco did. So it went from an honorable thing, let's reduce cigarette smoking. The idea that people should be allowed to smoke cigarettes in small enclosed places is wrong. I like an airplane. Even I, who smoked cigars, didn't like the smoking sections on airplanes. But in the name of that, it expanded to the point of absurdity, as usual, that you can't stand outside within 10 feet of an entrance, or that you can't smoke outdoors. Now, I admit that there are people who don't like the smoke of either cigars or cigarettes. I personally can't stand cigarette smoke. But the trajectory of authoritarianism began with tobacco. And in the usual idiocy of the left and activists in general, were really okay with marijuana. I would much prefer my children smoked cigarettes to joints. There's no comparison to me. I've done that hour a number of times in my broadcast history. Would you rather your teenager smoke cigarettes or a joint? And by the way, a lot of conservatives said joints. This was not an area where I had a lot of agreement with me. But I'm much more worried about their minds than about the 1 out of 3 chance that when they're in their 50s or 60s or 70s, they will get lung cancer. All right, we'll talk to you about a lot of things. 1-8-PRAGER 776.
Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border.
Human trafficking gone.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime.
I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
We understand that a plane has crashed into...
The people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
Biggest and most costly manhunt in U.S. history.
United States killed Osama bin Laden.
There are reports surfacing that Al-Qaeda has placed a $50,000 US bounty on the heads of any U.S. Navy SEALs.
Nobody's going to survive that. There's nobody in that.
This is the single largest loss of life in Afghanistan in a single incident.
Most of them are U.S. Navy SEALs.
We discovered bullets in the bodies of the Navy SEALs. The military threw them away.
More likely than not, that supports a shootout on board.
Anybody out there, we have a fallen angel.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
This is terrific. What rendition is this? Who's doing this? Oh, Ramsey Lewis. That's it. That's my man. Ramsey Lewis is one of my 2-3 top jazz professionals. Isn't that interesting? I asked you who it is because I loved it so much. It proves how much I love that guy. He is the happiest jazz composer player I know of. And the music is happy. I don't know. For all I know, the guy's manic depressive. But I'm just saying. All right, y'all. Dennis Prager here, wishing you a Merry Christmas. Hoping you're going to defy the moron, the crackpot. He's a crackpot. And I think corrupt, Tony Fauci. And get together. I want you who are unvaccinated to allow the vaccinated to come to your house, even though they are getting COVID now, the new Omicron variant, at greater rates than the unvaccinated. I read that to you 3 times today from the Wall Street Journal. If you have relatives who won't have you because you're unvaccinated, I really feel for you. Teresa in Minneapolis, hello.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Exactly that. Sorry.
Sorry for what? You didn't do anything wrong.
Oh, I thought I kind of interrupted.
Okay, you're fine. Go ahead.
We are in exactly that situation. We have relatives who called 2 days ago and said, don't come. We were planning to go to North Carolina to visit my husband's mother and lives with his sister, and she's in her 90s, and we know every time could be the last time. And they called on Tuesday to say, don't come. It's not safe. Don't come. And I thought, they called right after that announcement from Fauci on MSNBC. They watched that steadily. So we called back yesterday. I thought, let's have a conversation. We're vaccine free. We're also COVID recovered. They didn't know we were COVID recovered, so let's come clean and let's tell them that we have immunity. We have acquired immunity. So we were on a FaceTime call with them yesterday, and it actually went very badly. We tried to.
Did they understand? Because they're in their 90s, and so maybe they do, maybe they don't.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is in her 90s.
Right. So, does she understand that you had COVID and you have natural immunity?
Well, this is the thing. No, and I explained. I talked about, and I'm a PhD and a university professor, so I read the research because my degree is mathematics and applied statistics with research methods. So I read the research. So I try to explain it in a way an ordinary person can understand. But they were so panicked. They actually believe that they are completely safe because they've been vaccinated and boosted and will get their next booster in 2 months. But we are in serious, serious danger, and they were appalled that we're not getting vaccinated now because they believe that if you had COVID, and you're in much more danger to catch it again, that you're worse off from having had
So
COVID.
literally, they don't know what they're talking about. They might as well tell you that 2 and 2 is 6.
Yeah, and they were pleading with my husband to. I think they think I'm the black sheep or something. They were pleading with my husband.
What does your husband think?
To go to the NIH and go to the CDC and read the good information, what the real research is saying.
Right. What does your husband think?
Well, he's very adamant about not getting the vaccine.
Okay, thank God you're in sync. All right.
We are.
All right, let me wish you a Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much.
Even though you're not going to North Carolina. These women, the mother-in-law and her sister, at least one of them in the 90s, and they're worried about this. Panicked. I mean, they're not worried, they're panicked. The misinformation you receive from Fauci, if Twitter were actually honest, they would ban Fauci's Twitter account. Oh, Kadoki, everybody. Ron in Minneapolis as well. I don't know. Ron, do you know our last caller?
No, but I wish I would or could meet her.
That was the perfect answer.
Yeah, no fun, Fauci. That human is he's not a happy human.
Well, I don't care.
sad.
Well, he spreads misery. I mean, the man spreads panic and misery. Anyway, that's not what you called about, so go on.
No. All righty, Dennis, I've been listening to you for, I think from 2004, a daily basis, and your sense of humor is very unique. It's a great sense of humor. It's got a lot of characters within that sense of humor. So, and by the way, you make me laugh at least 2 or 3 times a week, and a few times over the years, you made my gut bust. I couldn't stop laughing on a few times. And
Good.
I remember one day last year, sitting in my office, you said something that made me, I couldn't stop laughing. My assistant came in. She asked me, Ron, are you okay? And I couldn't answer her. I couldn't stop laughing.
God,
but anyway,
that's great. Okay.
So I'm just curious, how did you develop your sense of humor? And more importantly, what is your favorite all-time comedian from the old days? And if I could share you my favorite, actually there's 2 that are tied for number 1 place for all-time comedian, best comedian of all time. Don Rickles and Rodney Dangerfield.
All right. Great stuff. How did I develop my sense of humor? My theory on many things is it's built in or you don't have it. I don't think that one can develop a sense of humor. It's like you can't develop perfect pitch in music. You're born with it or you don't have it. So I cultivate it, but I don't take credit for having it. I can tell you that it's bailed me out of a lot of situations because I often think with nothing in the background. And I don't need to have something in the background all the time because I love thinking, and sometimes I just crack myself up, and including in difficult situations. So it's been a very great help to my life. I'm with you on Rodney Dangerfield. I think taste in comedians is very individual. I think Adam Carolla is a giant in that field today. Rodney Dangerfield in the past. I thought Woody Allen was magnificent. And there was one other that I wanted to raise, but those come to mind. We will return. Whatever's on your mind on this last hour before the holiday.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
The whole thing is up in flames. I don't even want to waste a lot of time on the degenerate who burned it down. It was a guy from Brooklyn, I think 49 years old. They miraculously got him. And I just cannot shake what a metaphor that is. You know, millions and millions of people watch Fox News. Fox News celebrates American exceptionalism, greatness, the very, very patriotic channel. There's no way around that. They love the country. They proudly air plenty of conservative views, along with liberal views as well. They try to take their fair and balanced mantra pretty seriously. And some evil guy decided to burn down the Fox News channel Red, White, and Blue Christmas tree last night. And it's gone. And I just keep thinking about how much evil there is right now in the country, what we're up against as Americans. Right is wrong, good is evil, up is down, everything is inside out. And I was so anguished this morning in hearing about this and so upset. And I know a lot of it is because of my personal relationship over the years with Fox. I spent many, many hours walking to and from Fox. as a Fox News contributor. I guest hosted Sean Hannity's show a number of times. I guest hosted Fox and Friends back in the day. I was on Fox many, many nights.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
You have Attorney Binger pick up an AR-15.
Oh my God, yeah.
And just decide you have better trigger posture than him, Kyle.
Kyle, what is he pointing at in the?
Is he threatening the jury?
Pretty much. He was pointing his gun at the gallery, and I looked at my attorney.
This is your gun, right?
That's my rifle.
Yeah, that is yours, right?
That we're having destroyed right now. We don't want anything to do with that.
Oh wow.
So I looked at Corey and I said, Corey, that's gun safety 101. Loaded or unloaded. Treat a gun like it's loaded.
Yeah. And he points it at the jury.
Exactly.
I think at that point I said, all right, they're freaking out. I mean, they got nothing left.
So there's this video that the FBI had in their archives, 14 months. It clearly shows you being chased down by this deranged individual, corners you, all of it, HD. You know, this isn't, behind the cars, because, and this was always key that people who are looking at this never got, is that all the camera footage from that night was surface level, right? Because it's handheld. So, and of course, Richie thinks he has his camera going, but he doesn't. And he's beating himself up over that, but it happens in the heat of the moment, that this thing is above, looking down, sees the whole thing. You can actually see the anger and just insanity in Rosenbaum's face as he's chasing you, that I don't think you show that face to anybody, that they would think that this guy,
and let alone threatening to kill them twice that night.
Right, that he has anything other than, very dangerous, evil intentions.
Keep up with what's trending.
Hey, my dear friends, the last show before Christmas. I have a great show tomorrow of the best happiness hour and two other great hours. So I am on. I'm always on. Well, sometimes I'm not on. And I'm allowed vacation days. I love my work. I'm sure it's obvious to you. And I love the last 2 weeks of each year. They go too fast, in my opinion. It breaks my heart how many people will be frightened into not having family and friends for a second year for Christmas. The divisions among families and friends caused by the a-holes called health authorities in this country is so much more damaging than any of the meetings with people who were unvaccinated might be. There's so much more damage being done in this country by Fauci, by the CDC, by Biden, the most despicable president in American history. It is incalculable, the damage that they are doing. That will well go beyond the 17th variant of COVID-19. I'm curious, how many boosters are you prepared to take in 1 year? How many shots? 4? Has ever happened in history? What if they tell you to take 6? Will you take 6? 8? 10? What if they run out of Greek letters? What will they start doing then? Omicron 2? Delta 6? Welcome to Delta Flight 113. Oh, is that a variant or is that a flight? Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Oh, where were we? I'm sorry for taking this amount of time. I just want to see what call I want. Okay. Fairfield, California. Sue, hello.
Oh, Dennis, let me get it off of speakerphone.
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Better than the speakerphone.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, cool. Last week you spoke something about, you were talking about people thanking their parents. You remember that?
Yeah, of course.
For something?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a cradle Catholic, but I didn't really know my faith really as well as I should have. And over 10 years ago, a good friend and I walked the Camino in Spain. Are you familiar with that ancient pilgrimage?
I'm familiar with it, but I didn't take it.
Oh, okay. So it's been going on for over 1,000 years.
Right.
And it actually begins in France and ends up in Santiago de Compostela, which is
all right. We don't need
on the
those
West
details.
Coast.
So just tell me. What,
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's just that I learned a lot about my faith, and when I finished it, I wrote my parents a postcard saying, "Thank you so much for bringing me up in the Catholic Church and teaching me my faith."
What age were you when you sent that?
50.
Well.
But I was enlightened before that, but that's the first time I thanked my parents.
So what did you want? You had a question. Why is it difficult
No,
for
I
people
didn't have
to
a question.
I
I just
have
had
it here
a
listed
statement.
here. Why is it unusual to thank your parents?
Unusual?
Yeah, all right. I thought that. All right, that's the way your call was summarized. Anyway, yes, I think it would be a great thing for people to thank parents before the parents leave this world. That's a fair point. Okie-doke, let's go to Los Angeles. Frank, hello.
Hey, Dennis, how you doing?
Great, thank you.
Very good. Usually I agree with most of the stuff you say, but there was something you said a little while back on the show that I disagree with, and that was something, I don't know the exact words you used, but about the ban on cigarette smoking in certain places was the first part of the slippery slope as using health as some sort of way of taking away freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go back a lot further than when they did that with cigarettes. Go back about 100 years to Prohibition. And the progressives pushed that, and a majority of Democrats in the House and Senate voted
Right,
for it.
you're right. However, there's a very big difference. That was repealed. The bans on tobacco only led to more bans. In Burbank, California, you cannot smoke in a cigar store, and people put up with it. The movement to the draconian laws of today started with tobacco. And Nerve Renew is a product I asked to advertise on the show because it was so effective with me. I have congenitally tingling and numbness in my feet. I conquered it with inserts about 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and started taking Nerve Renew, and within a year I threw away the inserts. I never wear them. If you have tingling in your hands or feet, numbness, try it for 2 weeks for free. For 1 year, you have a money-back guarantee. Try NerveRenew.com.
Judge Thomas, do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state. The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
The public would be outraged if they knew the truth.
Why do you think our politicians are not on the sidewalk right now talking to you?
Don't have no respect.
The old wall randomly turns into a guardrail, followed by miles of open border. Human trafficking gone.
That journey is extremely dangerous.
The 7-year-old girl died in the desert.
From the country of India.
A great pillar of the community was killed by a man who had been deported at least twice.
This little urn contains the ashes of my son. His dreams cut short forever.
We're so worried about other countries' problems, and we don't even focus on our own.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Exactly what I want to remind you of. They give you, these guys, Andrew and Todd at andrewandtodd.com, advertising every single day since the beginning of the lockdown in February or March 2020. I couldn't believe these guys were still working. One of the only ones who were. They're hardworking, competent, good guys. andrewandtodd.com. If you have any interest in financing or refinancing your house. Now, here's the point. They give you, what is it called? I like it. They have a quick mortgage checkup, which everybody should have. Maybe they will tell you, you don't need to refinance. That's great. There's no obligation. andrewandtodd.com, 888-888-1172. 888-888-1172. andrewandtodd.com at Sierra Pacific. Dennis Prager here. And Julius in Union City, New Jersey. Hello.
Yeah, Dennis, I'd like to know, who are you to claim that Fauci is giving this information?
A thinker, a reader, and an honest man with 40 years of reputation of never telling a lie.
Really? So just because you believe something is true, that's still...
No, there are times that I know something is true, and I give you evidence for why. I only give you evidence. Okay?
And what's the evidence that he's giving misinformation?
He tells you masks work. Okay? Everyone who studies the issue knows that's a farce. It's a farce.
Can I explain it? Can I explain how it works?
Sure.
Okay, you wear a mask to keep the spittle from landing on other people. Like in the case of 2 weeks ago when I was working at the Army-Navy game, I had 100 people huddled around me for a stupid towel, and none of them could wear a mask, and they all wanted a damn towel. They could at least have been courteous and wear a mask, or at least stay away from me.
Right. Okay, you're an example, okay? And I don't mean to insult you. And
don't insult me.
I'm not insulting you. I'm just saying you are an example of my new theory, and that is that the afraid hate the non-afraid. You're an angry man, correct? You're angry.
I got COVID. You
so what? So
be quiet about that. You.
So okay, all right. If you have to call me names, I can't keep it on because it's a family show. I really would. I would have kept you on more. He got COVID. My heart breaks. You're a lucky man, because if you're healthy and you're 40 years old, as you claim to be, and I believe you, you'll be fine. Okay? You'll be fine. Number of 40-year-olds who are healthy who get COVID who die is so small that you should thank God you got COVID. Now you have natural immunity. You're in my camp, and I'm way older than you, and I'm delighted. But he's angry because I'm telling him not to be afraid. Isn't that great? Those of us telling you not to be afraid are the targets of hatred. Those who are telling you to be afraid and not meet with family for Christmas, they're the heroes of the country to the New York Times. The sick, sick New York Times. Washington Post, NBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, NPR. They're despicable. They live in fear and they spread fear. They have contempt for Franklin Roosevelt's statement, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. For the left, the only thing we have to fear is dying from climate change, dying from COVID, dying from Omicron, dying from Delta, dying from the original COVID-19. We're going to die. We're on the left. We're scared of life. We won't go into a classroom. We won't let kids who are 2 years old go on a plane without a mask. We are on the left. We are sick, paranoid people. Every one of them. And people like Julius believe it. Let me be scared. Good. Got that out of my system. The scummy afraid. That's what they are. I'm talking about the media, not Julius. Julius is a victim. He let himself be a victim, but he's a victim. I gave him COVID. You should send me a thank you note. All right, Brent, Los Angeles, hello.
Yes, a miraculous and Merry Christmas, Dennis.
Thank you.
Yeah, as an American Jew, this year I pray all Americans will flatten our viral fascism and communism by celebrating Christmas as if it were Hanukkah. We need to dispel the darkness of these days with the light and love of God, and may every church and synagogue be standing room only.
As the Jews would say, halavai, if only. But most synagogues are directed by wimps in the rabbinate and in the boards of directors. Same with churches. The wimping out of by churches and synagogues in this last year and a half is one of the saddest aspects of American life. The only people to resist have been some churches, and I salute them. I've spoken in many of them, but it's depressing how easily frightened religious people have been, how irrational. The response of most synagogues, since you're a Jew and I'm a Jew, has been an embarrassment to Judaism, the Jewish people, and America. Okay, let's see here. We'll have to, let's see. Rusty in Cleveland, hello.
Dennis, I'm so glad to come on after Julius 2 callers ago, because in comparison, I'm about to sound like a genius, I think. But perhaps I'm getting ahead of myself. You talked about the pandemic being one of fear yesterday, which I thought was very wise. And I wondered, you talk about male-female issues quite a bit. I wonder if you thought that the prevalence of women in media and in government might have something to do with our pandemic of fear.
The prevalence of women in teaching has to do with it. I don't think the CDC and NIH are predominantly female. Teaching profession is. The disgrace of teachers screwing kids' lives like they did the last year and a half. We're not going to teach. We may get COVID. Sweden never closed its schools for kids under 16. Never. Not one teacher died.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Judge Thomas, you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. I do.
I was under constant attack. You're not really black because you're not doing what we expect black people to do. This is the wrong black guy. He has to be destroyed.
So you'd still like to serve on the Supreme Court?
I'd rather die than withdraw from the process.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Man, I miss my father, and I want him to be here with me, but he's not.
We all had something in common. A lot of us were miserable. We had no fathers in our lives.
This is how I began the life of crime. I desired to have a father who would tell me that what I did was wrong.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
This is why we're fighting for the soul of America.
You should be able to share ideas without fear of being fired from your job or shouted down.
You are not to be heard. This is one of the few things we have no precedent for in the United States.
You have the right to remain silent.
Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Very nice. Daniel in Arizona wants to know how long natural immunity lasts. We don't know the answer to that, but in every other illness, forever. I don't know why it should be any different for COVID. We do know that the vaccines last for under a year. So between the two, I would choose natural immunity. I'm not saying you have a choice. Bonnie in Los Angeles, California. Hello. Be concise.
Hello,
there's not a lot of time. Hi.
Okay, I just wanted to say I wanted to always call this time of year to tell you, many, many years ago on Religion on the Line, you had a rabbi on, and a woman called in who was Jewish, and she said, it is so distressing for me this time of year because everybody's celebrating Christmas, and we're Jewish, and I feel so left out. And he said, the last thing a Jew needs is somebody else's holiday. If you had Shabbos every week and you had all the holidays that Jews have, you would never want someone else's holiday. And that was a paragon moment in my life. I changed the way I thought. Today I'm an Orthodox Jew living in Jerusalem.
That's a very fascinating call. I should discuss that once. Jews who live Judaism honor Christians who live their Christianity. Jews who are alienated entirely from their religion are often the Jews who are most annoyed with Christians celebrating their religion. Those who have nothing want others to have nothing. Those who are afraid want others to be afraid. Those who are unhappy want others to be unhappy. Those who are alienated from America want others to be alienated from America. The alienated do not like the non-alienated. The afraid do not like the unafraid. The unhappy do not like the happy. This explains the left as well as any other explanation possible. They have nothing going on except hatred of this country, and they want you to have nothing going on. They really hate people who get teared up at the national anthem, because they don't. They take a knee because the country is so scummy to the left. I don't want to leave on a sad note, and I shouldn't. I pray that most of you will continue your Christmas celebrations with the vaccinated, the unvaccinated, and enjoy this holiday, because you need it more than you need a vaccine against despair. God bless you. I'm Dennis Prager.